Hypnosis: Techniques for Weight Loss, Sleepwalking, and Fertility. Written by Devin Hales. Narrated by Dean Collins. Chapter 1. Definition and Description of Hypnosis. Hypnosis is defined as a mindset of strongly focused concentration, decreased peripheral awareness, and increased suggestibility. There are a lot of methods that specialists use for inducing such a state. Capitalizing on the power of suggestion, hypnosis is usually made use of to help others relax, to decrease the sensation of pain, or to assist in some desired behavioral change. Therapists cause hypnotism, also described as hypnotherapy or hypnotic recommendation, with the help of mental images and calming verbal repeating that place the patient into a trance-like state. Once relaxed, clients' minds are more open to transformative messages. Not everybody is easily hypnotizable. Using brain imaging studies, researchers have found distinctions in patterns of brain connection between those that react to hypnotic induction and those that do not. The distinction appears in the hypnotizable as heightened coactivation between the executive nerve center in the prefrontal cortex and another part of the prefrontal cortex that flags the importance or salience of events. Making use of hypnosis. Contrary to common belief, human beings stay entirely awake throughout hypnosis and normally remember their experiences. Under the assistance of a trained healthcare professional, hypnosis can be used to reduce pain, deal with autoimmune disease, combat phobias, and break bad routines such as smoking and binge eating. Hypnosis can also help individuals deal with negative emotions like tension and anxiety, as well as pain, fatigue, sleeping disorders, mood conditions, and more. How can hypnosis help you? Hypnosis has been used rather than anesthetics to decrease pain and anxiety before and after surgical treatment. It also appears to increase healing from many conditions, which includes neuralgia, rheumatism, epilepsy, and skin problems. The physiological and neurological changes that happen under hypnosis are pretty similar to the self-healing placebo effect, a case of mind over matter. What makes someone easy to hypnotize? Contrary to stereotypes, hypnosis works best when an individual is a willing participant. There are people who are more open to hypnotic suggestion than others. Experts call this characteristic hypnotizability and acknowledge that it can vary significantly amongst people. Even the ones with high levels of hypnotizability may require multiple hypnosis sessions to see any developments. Can hypnotism be unsafe? Hypnosis under the guidance of a trained therapist is normally considered a safe option or supplement to medication. Unfavorable results are rare, but can include headaches, lightheadedness, drowsiness, and feelings of anxiety or distress. In many cases, hypnotism can induce false memories. The ethics of hypnosis. A lot of people really wonder whether a therapist will have the ability to control their mind, a task that is not possible. Those that are hypnotized still have free choice, and while they're more open to suggestion, they won't act in ways they would ordinarily find ethically repugnant. Yet, the nature of hypnosis and the way it influences the subconscious raises a number of ethical questions about its use. Are there those who can't be hypnotized? About 25% of the population is thought to not be hypnotizable at all. These people have the tendency to be highly doubtful of the best advantages of hypnotism and not likely to voluntarily take part in it. Can you hypnotize yourself, and should you? Self-hypnosis is definitely possible. Though some could consider it cheating or immoral, it's actually a safe way to establish control and start changing undesirable or damaging habits. All it takes is a quiet place, open mindset, and practice for an individual to learn the strategies that they really need to plant healthy, hypnotic ideas in their own mind. Chapter 2. Clinical Hypnosis Boosts Treatment. Your focus shapes your experience. I have much more than a casual interest in the subject of how your focus affects your life experience. For almost 3 decades, I have focused on 2 main domains of professional interest: using medical hypnotism in the short-term psychotherapies and treating depression in individuals, couples, and families. I have written lots of times on depression already, but a blog site on the benefits of clinical hypnosis is long overdue. The field of medical hypnotism has gone through a peaceful revolution from seemingly being a bit more than a party trick to a recognized and vital part of behavioral medicine programs in the finest scholastic and scientific institutions you can name, including, but not limited to, Harvard, Yale, and Stanford. There are sophisticated clinical journals dedicated entirely to advancing scientific practice on the basis of research into hypnotic phenomena. There are national and international meetings dedicated entirely to the subject of how hypnotism informs scientific practice and brightens intricate mind-body relationships. Somebody not familiar with hypnosis could be shocked to discover that hypnotism has undergone a wide variety of empirical examinations, particularly clinical and neuroscientific ones, attempting to better understand how a clinician's words can become the basis for apparently amazing experiences in a concentrated client. Hypnosis includes selective attention, a constricting of focus, and an increased absorption in suggested experiences. Contrary to popular mythology, people soaked up in the experience of hypnotism are totally knowledgeable about what is going on and are fully in charge of themselves. Still, they are deeply focused on listening to and absorbing the restorative ideas the physician introduces, taking them in and using them at more deep levels than they otherwise might. Hypnosis isn't magic. Hypnosis just enhances what goes on in any good therapy when a knowledgeable physician introduces new possibilities to a client seeking positive change. Hypnosis is not generally considered as a therapy in and of itself. It is considered a therapeutic tool for creating a more relaxed, focused, and attentive setting for absorbing the treatment. Therefore, the significant question to ask is not, how does hypnosis compare to cognitive behavioral treatment, or CBT, or some other specific form of therapy, in treatment success rates? Rather, the proper question is, if CBT is performed without hypnotism, and CBT is performed with hypnosis, does the addition of hypnosis enhance the effectiveness of the treatment? The evidence is substantial that the answer is yes. Clinicians reading this blog site might be interested in a comprehensive evaluation of the status of hypnosis as an empirically supported treatment for a variety of medical and psychological conditions, which were published in the April and July 2007 special issues of the International Journal of Scientific and Experimental Hypnosis. No treatment is successful with all people, of course, but the capability of hypnotism to improve treatment for most people is excellent. Hypnosis sessions are most effective when structured according to the special profile of the client. That includes things like the client's goals for the session, attentional capabilities, cognitive style, and personal interests. Typically, hypnosis sessions are about 20 to 30 minutes in length, embedded with the larger therapy session. Hypnotic treatments generally involve directing the client to close his or her eyes, relax, focus intently on the clinician's words, and actively engage in the internal process of adapting the ideas and perspectives the physician offers into a meaningful approach to resolving or changing the particular issues or signs under consideration. As a common example, a clinician may suggest to a client in hypnosis the idea that he or she be more intentional about gathering unbiased info, reality testing, before leaping to an incorrect and self-damaging conclusion, a regrettable but normal cognitive pattern usually related to depression. Of course, this is the exact same practical idea a clinician might suggest without the benefit of hypnosis, but the client's absorption of the message is considerably more rapid and intense when focused in hypnosis. More interestingly, responses occur at levels outside of the client's consciousness that further magnify the hypnotic experience. Suggesting to a client in pain, for example, that she or he can separate from your body and allow a comfy sense of feeling numb to slowly replace the pain isn't a reasonable suggestion to offer. But to the individual in hypnosis, it is one he or she can absorb and react to with the development of an analgesia enough to even withstand surgical procedures done without the application of chemical anesthetics. That's remarkable. How this change in sensory awareness occurs is not fully comprehended at this time. There are neuroscientific research studies going on all over the world utilizing advanced scanning innovations with hypnotized research subjects to try and comprehend how the mind in hypnosis can influence the brain in such amazing ways. Anyone who practices scientific hypnotism does so with the firmly entrenched and therapeutically important belief that people have many more capabilities than they consciously recognize. Hypnosis creates an enhanced experience for people to check out, discover, and use more of their inherent abilities. Hypnosis also makes it easier to learn new abilities. Hypnosis isn't the therapy, and hypnosis itself remedies absolutely nothing. Rather, hypnosis is the car for empowering individuals with the capabilities and realizations that ultimately serve to help them. It is not the experience of hypnotism itself that's healing. It's what happens throughout hypnosis in terms of developing new and valuable associations. There are a lot of ways to use hypnosis in treating depression, consisting of building positive expectations to counter hopelessness, reframing emotion-laden memories, improving perceptual flexibility, instilling better survival skills, and increasing self-efficacy. Hypnosis as a subject of serious research study, both in scientific and neuroscientific domains, is already gaining great dividends. And, as new applications emerge, hypnosis has great potential to help people in ways they may never have considered before. If you want to find out more about hypnosis, you can visit my website, www.yapko.com, for materials and educational links. One piece of guidance. I am obviously encouraging the use of hypnosis as an established means of helping people feel and be better. Still, I am highly promoting that you only look for hypnotism from a well-experienced clinician. You might ask how to determine if someone is certified, and my answer is that the individual must be qualified to do therapy without hypnosis before they're qualified to do treatment with hypnosis. Simply put, only someone with a formal academic degree who is state certified to supply healthcare. The practice of hypnotism is not controlled, and so there are many people out there who do hypnotism with only titles, such as qualified hypnotherapist, despite having no degrees or licenses appropriate to conduct therapy. If you want a regional referral, a pretty good place to start is by visiting the site of the American Society of Medical Hypnosis at www.ASMH.org. hypnosis.asch.net, or by calling your regional medical or mental associations. There, you'll find a recommendation list of professionals for you to interview as possible therapists to seek advice from. Chapter 3: An Underused Strategy. It's been 30 years since I initially began using hypnosis. For me, it's been a great restorative tool. As an adjunctive method, hypnosis has enabled me to integrate several behavioral therapies that typically form the basis of my treatment strategy. My early education in its use taught me that hypnosis is a method of sustained, focused concentration. Hypnosis enables the subject to process information in a way different from the way it is processed in the routine alert state. Because of the power of hypnosis, when incorporated into a particular behavioral adjustment technique, it can be used in numerous ways to treat many conditions. For lots of people, including plenty of mental health professionals, hypnotism evokes mental weakness, mind control, sleep, or loss of consciousness. Ladies are typically considered more hypnotizable than guys. Those are myths. Hypnosis is neither mind control nor a technique for the weak-willed. Clearly, women aren't more hypnotizable than men. And finally, the old wives' tale that people go to sleep or lose consciousness when they're hypnotized is just an old wives' tale. On the contrary, a hypnotized person goes into a highly alert state in which the individual's focus or concentration is heightened. Hypnosis permits clients to focus and support concentration so they can be taught a well-thought-out behavior modification program. Hypnosis must be seen, though, as an adjunctive part of an ongoing restorative plan. This is an example. A dental practitioner who uses hypnosis for pain or anxiety control is aiding his main therapy, the practice of dentistry, in an adjunctive way. Hypnosis can help clients working on problems such as smoking cessation, weight control, nail biting, phobia proficiency, sleeping disorders, anxiety, including but not limited to PTSD, poor sexual function, obsessive thinking, and stress-related problems that might be rooted in such physical issues as hypertension, headache, or persistent pain issues. Hypnosis can be a reliable help in treating these issues. But inadequate psychiatrists, psychologists, and psychotherapists misuse hypnotism or do not comprehend what it can and can't do. An example of how I use hypnosis involved a gentleman who had been stuck in an elevator for many hours and subsequently suffered trauma with incapacitating flashbacks, agitation, and depression. He came for help after having tried several traditional therapies and one approach including cognitive behavioral therapy, all of which had failed. I chose to try a completely different method using hypnosis and directed images. Within a period of 4 sessions, I had the ability to get this man to predict his flashbacks and anxiety onto a large movie screen that we developed together. Basically, we were able to start on a roadway to get those memories out of his thoughts and on the screen. When he needed to unwind himself, he learned to turn the visuals on the screen and go to another set of imagery with enjoyable associations for him. I taught him this strategy so that, after our sessions ended, he could continue practicing it on his own. I really believe the focused concentration that he developed through the hypnotism permitted these images to work. In a short time on his own, he conquered the PTSD and wasn't bothered by it anymore. It was over. In my experience, if hypnotic techniques are going to work, they will be effective within several sessions. If they don't work for an issue, it may be time to move on to other approaches. There is no need for gizmos or drugs when hypnosis is used. If the patient is hypnotizable and many doctors can carry out an easy test or tests to figure out this. All that's needed is the individual's desire and the specialist's ability in assisting them into their own hypnotic state. Those of us in psychiatry and psychology are best equipped to deal with hypnosis, but other disciplines may have the ability to do this work too. In general, the goal is the same. Regardless of who is conducting the hypnosis, a favorable restorative result using the primary specialization as the basis of the treatment, as in the dental example. Patients should be aware of the stage therapist who hypnotizes just for the purpose of doing so. That's entertainment, not healthcare. As an official process, medical hypnosis takes training and experience and needs to be used by those who are well aware of the proper uses, strengths, and contraindications. In the mid-1950s, the British Medical Association and the American Medical Association issued a policy statement that acknowledged hypnotism as a legitimate treatment in medicine and dentistry. Arguments surrounding the psychological, physiological, neurochemical, or emotional reactions prompted by hypnosis continue. Up to the present time, though, the mechanism that makes hypnotism effective is either unclear or unidentified. Paperwork of scientific proof of its efficiency is based upon scientific experience and usually anecdotal. Culture, inspiration, trends, belief systems, and hope often get in the medical picture. Many fine educational programs offer workshops and courses in health hypnosis. Contact the Society for Scientific and Speculative Hypnosis to learn about programs offered across the United States and everywhere in the world. Of the many books and short articles I have read and learned from, Hypnotic Trance in Treatment, Clinical Uses of Hypnosis by Herbert Spiegel, MD, and David Spiegel, MD, is still one of the most scientifically relevant and quickly understood. More psychiatrists should be trained in hypnotic strategies. Hypnosis must belong to general psychiatric education, simply because these methods add an important dimension to psychiatrists and the mental health experts' toolbox. Chapter 4. How Hypnosis Can Recover the Body. There is a mystical part to hypnosis and just how it works. Tons of research has been done on it, but still there are many controversies between the professionals of just what happens in a hypnotic trance. What we do understand better are the results, and certainly hypnosis has been a really effective method to help recover the mind, body, and spiritual aspects of life. Allow me to draw your attention to how hypnotic strategies can recover the body. The hypnotic trance has many remarkable properties that include experiencing feeling numb in general or in specific areas of the body. This enables a proficient therapist to produce the lack of feeling in any part of the body. One of my clients was allergic to the anesthetics and needed to undergo brain surgery, so I was hired to use hypnosis to help this individual go through their operation without general anesthesia. Yes, with the help of hypnosis, this individual underwent a major brain operation. Hypnosis is more often used for more common issues, like dental work, burns, headaches, giving birth, and comparable matters. The body is created to heal itself. Even though this complex process does work automatically, it can be accelerated and improved by hypnotic strategies. By directing the subconscious mind to focus energy on a specific system in the body, more of your natural resources will go there. That means that if, for example, you were burned, your body will naturally begin the healing process, which may take a week to finish. If you were to use hypnosis to quicken this process, you might finish the healing in half the time. At the very least, hypnosis is very efficient to reduce pain. The effectiveness of this technique depends on several elements. There is the client's susceptibility and desire to use this approach. the skill of the hypnotherapist, and the severity of the issue. Hypnosis has its limitations, though it is always worth attempting to use it simply because there is no downside to the method. At worst, it may do no more than make the subject feel a little better from getting attention, but it can't do any damage itself. One of the more profound impacts of hypnotism is in using it to lessen or remove pain. An essential care is that if you do not know what's triggering the pain, hypnotism could successfully get rid of the pain, but it may also cover up something serious that requires attention. If you know what's triggering the pain, then it is safe to apply it to reduce the experience of pain and assist with the general recovery. The fact is that most pain is in your head. That means that it is possible to switch off the pain signals in the mind and reduce the feeling of pain. This can be accomplished in many ways using hypnosis. Generally speaking, positive suggestions are a good starting point. Then these are typically elaborated to help with healing and get rid of pain. There is a great amount of scientific research using hypnosis to help heal the body or reduce the perception of pain. If you have a health issue, talk to a professional who is certified by the American Society of Scientific Hypnosis, ASCH.net, to use hypnotic strategies. The clinical literature is full of case studies verifying the power of hypnosis to promote healing. If you have a problem, I encourage you to consider the power of hypnotism to help you dominate it. Chapter 5. Hypnosis and Sexual Health. Individuals who experience sex phobias, impotence, or frigidity have in some cases been effectively hypnotized to overcome this fear and thus experience orgasms. Other people have used auto-hypnotic suggestions to induce orgasms for themselves. Some cases are pointed out in the record of hypnotism that specify hypnotist-induced hallucinations that are visual, acoustic, and tactile. These hallucinations are said to be of sexy women who sing, dance, and supply tactile stimulus needed for orgasm. A Wikipedia short article on recreational hypnosis, which it claims is just another name for sexual hypnosis, notes that hypnosis for sexually leisure activities are utilized mainly in sexual sadism and sexual masochism practices. More specifically, but without any supporting proof, the article claims that, quote, the positioning of trigger words in the subject's mind as post-hypnotic tip to produce actions and experiences on demand is a common practice. Hypnosis can be used within a dominance and submission relationship to strengthen power exchange and as a form of play. This ranges from hypnotically induced orgasms to long-lasting conditioning. The act of hypnosis itself is sexual and relationship affirming for many power exchange couples as the subject surrenders control and opens themselves to mental vulnerability. Most people who relate to the submissive side of sexual hypnosis often fantasize about being devoid of obligations or inhibitions and transformed into a person who can freely enjoy sexual satisfactions. Such sexually submissive persona include the slave, female stereotypes like the bimbo, slut, stripper, and imaginary characters from well-known media." Unquote. Hypno-fetishism certainly appears to have a small but significant following online, as there are tons of bespoke online sites consisting of hypno-fetish and hypnotic supremacy and submission stories, both fictional and autobiographical that in some cases include aspects of telepathy and subliminal messaging, and hypno-fetish images, photographs, and videos, and numerous discussion groups and forums. Peter Masters, author of Look Into My Eyes and self-proclaimed expert on hypno-fetishism, notes on his website that, quote, the preparation for a hypnosis-based sex experience is normally arousing at first through the fetish aspect, and then once the hypnotherapist has directed his or her partner into a hypnotic trance, both can get the benefits from the boosted and more powerful sexual experience of the hypnotized topic. The usage of a shiny pendant, a pocket watch on a chain, or a ticking wooden metronome as the object of focus for doing the hypnosis can add significantly to the enjoyment and anticipation." Unquote. Masters also make some intriguing observations in relation to the stringent dictionary definition of fetish and erotic hypnosis. As I noted in a previous blog on sexual fetishism, fetishes are usually body parts, that is, feet, hair, noses, and so forth, inanimate objects, meaning shoes, masks, etc., or conditions, or weight problems, pregnancy, and so forth, that in and of themselves have a non-sexual focus. Masters noted that hypnosis appears to be entirely non-sexual, but then mentions work by Dr. Craig Hill and Dr. Leslie Preston published in a 1996 issue of the Journal of Sexual Research, showing that, quote, "Over 20% of young people look at sex as being an opportunity to experience the power of their partner, and over 20% look at sex as a chance to exert power over their partner. Plainly, hypnosis is one way they can experience this power, because hypnosis is explicitly someone taking control of another and using that control." Unquote. One thing I know about hypnosis from my own research nearly 30 years ago is that among human beings there's a vast array of hypnotic susceptibility. Hypnofetishism is always very likely to be a minority sexual interest, simply because the degree to which people can be hypnotized depends on many factors consisting of 1. The self-confidence and trust that someone has in letting someone else hypnotize them. 2. The general fears people have about being hypnotized in any capacity. 3. The level of previous experience somebody has of being hypnotized. And 4. The level of experience of the hypnotherapist. I, for one, have never had the ability to be hypnotized by anyone. There are also many ethical questions. This could be: Dr. Don Gibbons, in a brief article on hypnophilia on his HypnoThoughts blog site, wondered to what extent hypnophilia occurred amongst professional hypnotherapists and how many in the occupation are sexually obsessed with the use of hypnosis and use their skill as an instrument of serial seduction. Yet we simply don't know. But as highlighted in Dr. Magnus Hirschfield's case research study above, it definitely appears to have occurred. There are also ethical questions concerning notified sexual authorization. Simply because someone allows another to perform hypnotism on them does not mean that they are granting permission to engage in sexual acts while in a hypnotic trance. Chapter 6. Using self-hypnosis to manage weight. Many people are actually aware of tons of the causes like junk food's availability and low price point, absence of accessibility of fresh and healthy food in poorer regions, a cultural propensity to celebrate with beverages or food, and to commiserate with drinks and food, a busy civilization that eats on the run, a tendency to spend way too much time sedentary instead of moving. We know all of this, and we know the health problems that appear from being obese and even slightly obese, so the curious part originates from the fact that we know what to do, yet we do not do it. Part of the problem is the ways in which the mind gets programmed. It's a waste to leave food on my plate. I have to eat even after I feel full. I eat so quickly I don't realize that I'm full until I'm finished, and then I feel sick. I just do not have some time to shop for healthy foods and make good meals. I'm too tired at the end of the day to get exercise. I just want to veg out in front of the TV. I am going to worry about my weight tomorrow. Because so much of weight control is really a case of mind over matter, hypnotism can be a really reliable tool for weight reduction. Let us take a look at 5 steps you can use to self-hypnotize and start losing those few, or many, additional pounds. As a start, work with your mindful mind. Open your food cabinet and your refrigerator. Clear out those products that are problems for you. Get rid of the ice cream, the Oreos, and the potato chips. It's best not to have temptation around you while you are working this process. Replace these with much healthier choices. Get some small carrots, celery, apples, bags of nuts, or 100-calorie snack bags instead. When you do reach, ensure all you can grab is something healthy and lower in calories. Draw up your goal using the SMART approach of goal setting on a little paper or 3x5 cards. Remember that I changed the A to mean action-oriented in SMART, so that there's an active element to your weight loss. The acronym is as follows: S for specific, M for measurable, A for action-oriented, R for realistic, and T for time-bound. Write your objectives in the present tense so that your mind begins to really believe this is true, not that it will be someday. A great written goal could seem like this: I lose 15 pounds by November 30th, and I could do this by changing starch with veggies and walking 2 miles every night between 6 and 7:30 p.m. The more particular and quantifiable the objective, the much easier it is for the mind to move in the direction it needs to. Spend 5 minutes, at the very least 3 times per day, clearing your mind of any thoughts or issues. Work to literally clear your mind of anything else you could be thinking of. Fixate on your breathing till you feel calm and open. When you feel your mind is ready, raise the paper or 3x5 card you have written your objective on and say to yourself over and over what you have written. I lose 15 pounds by November 30th. Your mind will want to draw you away to other thoughts, so just keep returning to your saying. Continue to repeat this for 1 to 2 minutes. Once you have repeated your mantra for 1 to 2 minutes, you can put down the card or paper. Now sit with your eyes closed for the remaining 3 minutes and work to picture yourself reaching this objective. See in your mind's eye, or imagine in any way that will work for you, that you are reaching for vegetables, or taking the walk. This is from my example. Use whatever circumstance you have documented. And see yourself smiling broadly just because you are losing the weight. Some people are extremely visual, and some can just notice or imagine other ways. Whichever works for you, as long as you can sense success, is what's right. Put positive reminders all over. For instance, hang a pair of pants that you'll have the ability to wear in a popular place so you see them often. Picture yourself wearing those pants. Post reinforcing notes that you see typically. I make good eating choices each day, and I find chances for exercise usually every day. Hypnosis works because the subconscious mind starts to tell the conscious mind what steps to take. Be sure to feed your mind positive messages and pictures that benefit you, so you start to make great choices about eating and exercise without thinking of it. Chapter 7. Hypnosis for Sleepwalking. Sleep professionals use some treatment approaches for sleepwalking. Those include reassurance, precaution, medications, and hypnosis. Both children and grown-ups might experience sleepwalking, and it can happen in almost anybody who experiences considerable sleep deprivation or sleep interruption. It is most typical in kids and tends to decrease in adulthood, although it can persist at any time, particularly if sleep is exceptionally limited or disrupted, maybe because of a demanding work schedule or the start of sleep apnea. Sleepwalking is normally minimal and normally doesn't involve dangerous activities like driving. Oftentimes, all that's needed is to assure the person that is sleepwalking that sleepwalking is typically benign, does not show the presence of a mental disorder, and normally reduces in frequency with time. More treatment is indicated for people with sleepwalking-related unsafe habits, or if the sleepwalking is triggering concern for other members of the household, or if it results in the individual being excessively drowsy throughout the day. Most often, an overnight sleep study is not necessary as part of the diagnostic development for sleepwalking. Situations where a sleep research study is indicated occur when the behavior is very frequent, has resulted in an injury, is related to daytime sleepiness, or involves medical or legal issues. There have been forensic incidents associated with criminal behavior performed at the time of an episode of sleepwalking. If reassurance is insufficient, then the next most important step is to execute precaution. Those measures include obstructing stairways, hiding automobile keys, or putting a pressure-sensitive alarm in the bed so that the individual is awakened if getting out of bed while still asleep during the night. Some preventative measures are specifically crucial for children with sleepwalking. In certain circumstances, tricyclic antidepressants and benzodiazepines might be useful medications in the treatment of sleepwalking. But hypnosis? As a treatment for sleepwalking? Yes. In small research studies performed by researchers such as Peter Horry, Ph.D. of the Mayo Center, results have shown that appropriately evaluated sleepwalking patients can experience substantial improvement with the application of medical hypnosis. These techniques have been used in small studies with extremely positive results. Truth be told, hypnosis has shown encouraging results for a variety of parasomnias like terrible nightmares and sleepwalking. In a current 5-year follow-up research study released in the Journal of Medical Sleep Medicine, Horry, Silber, and Beeve reported that sleepwalkers treated with hypnotherapy had a 50% enhancement after 18 months and 67% after 5 years. Enhancement was defined as being spell-free or much enhanced. This was an unrestrained study designed with small numbers, so the results are suggestive, though not conclusive. More research is obviously required, and scientific use is realistic. The theory behind this technique makes good sense in that hypnosis involves relaxation and suggestions for future convenience and relaxation. When this successfully leads to less interrupted sleep, then we can fairly expect an accompanying decrease in the frequency and intensity of spells or sleepwalking episodes, which arise from partial arousals in deep sleep. So yes, not only peace of mind, safety measures, and medications, but also hypnosis can be efficient as a treatment for sleepwalking. Chapter 8. Hypnosis for Infertility. How does one cope with any circumstance swarming with uncertainty where the only solution is resolution of the problem? Those in an infertility struggle are in this specific situation. Anxiety can continue to mount unmercifully. The only relief comes from learning coping techniques, which are less about problem solving and more about letting go. Of the letting go approaches, hypnosis ranks at the top. The positive reputation of hypnotism for infertility is spreading. Most patients are seeking out this service from a licensed, hypnotically trained psychological health professional or are learning self-hypnosis. Below are 12 reasons for you to investigate this approach. 1. Hypnosis at the time of embryo transfer yielded pregnancy rates that were double those of the controls. 2. Hypnosis can be an ultimate mind-body awareness activity and can declare your womanhood. 3. Hypnosis or self-hypnosis permits you to feel back in control simply because of your active participation. 4. Post-hypnotic ideas can boost receptivity. 5. Hypnosis can take you under the turbulence to an infertility-free zone. 6. Hypnosis can support medical treatment, holistic care, and even natural conception. 7. Hypnosis is unwinding. 8. Hypnosis can soothe fears. 9. Hypnosis can recover heartache. 10. Hypnosis can end up being a safe house, which is renewing and refreshing. 11. Hypnosis can help you remember who you truly are. 12. A hypnotic trance can convert stumbling blocks into building blocks for navigating the psychological debris created during the journey. Chapter 9. The Top 10 Psychological Myths. 1. Little Albert developed a serious phobia as an adult and needed treatment. Little Albert was the baby conditioned to fear furry objects by behavioral psychologist John Watson back in the early 1900s. This myth acquired a good deal of traction as a result of the mystery surrounding the identity of the regrettable infant. No one knew what happened to him until psychologist Hall P. Beck discovered that Little Albert was a man called Douglas Merritt, who passed away at the age of 6 from hydrocephalus. 2. Freud was a master hypnotherapist. We usually associate Freud with hypnosis, simply because he did get training in his attempt to improve his therapeutic skills. The truth is, though, that Freud could not actually hypnotize his patients, try as he might. His piercing brown eyes appeared to put his clients on edge. Eventually, his inability to hypnotize clients, in addition to his firm belief in unconscious forces, led him to develop the strategy of free association that formed the basis for classical psychoanalysis. With his patients lying on a sofa, away from his soul-searching gaze, Freud had the ability to allow them to show their unconscious fears, wishes, and desires. 3. Milgram's experiments could never ever be completed today. Remember the well-known research study in which subjects thought they were given electric shocks in a learning experiment? Stanley Milgram performed these research studies in the early 1960s, demonstrating that practically anyone, under any conditions, would obey authority. Regrettably, those famous experiments were just recently reproduced. You can see the existing variation of the Milgram experiments in the Science Channel documentary including Santa Clara psychologist Jerry Hamburger. The results on the show, conducted as actual experiments, practically entirely matched the original Milgram experiment. 4. Personality is embedded in plaster by age 30. One of the creators of psychology, Harvard theorist William James, actually believed that personality was fixed by early adulthood. Freud also had faith in the immutability of personality, but it was James who was credited with the embedded in plaster quote. It's not uncommon to find people today who actually believe that we are stuck with our childhood or at the very least teen character. Having said that, years of research on personality in adulthood shows that most individuals can change in a lot of ways throughout life, even in their very essential dispositions. 5. Many people cannot recover from a chronic mental illness such as schizophrenia. Along the same lines as myth number 4 is the belief that severe mental illness cannot be effectively dealt with. Yet, as is really true for myth number 4, people can overcome their early life characters or perhaps forms of psychopathology. If people with schizophrenia receive current treatment during their severe phase, over 40% can recover, meaning have no symptoms or hospitalizations and at least part-time work, for 1 or more years at a time. Some individuals with schizophrenia can even show complete recovery for the rest of their lives. 6. The eye is a lot like an electronic camera. You could believe that the retina records everything it sees, though upside down, but in fact, the retina records patterns on an on and off way. As the retinal cells send information up to the brain, the signal is continually refined, but it never physically resembles the objects that you see. Initial psych books unfortunately perpetuate this myth by demonstrating the object dealing with the eye appearing upside down on the back of the retina. In actuality, we build the images we see in our world by putting together the data in the higher regions of the brain, not the back of the eye. 7. Many people watching the Cat Genovese murder, source of spectator influence research, did not offer help. The notorious murder of Cat Genovese in March of 1964 in front of lots of passive spectators stimulated research by social psychologists John Darley and Bibb Latané to investigate the principle of diffusion of responsibility. Darley and Latané's research showed that the larger the number of bystanders, the less likely any one person is to help. Having said that, the true Genovese story didn't play out rather as described in most intro psych books. Truth be told, lots of people tried to help and were unable to due to the fact that the lethal assault did not take place right in front of them. Even though there is still validity to the bystander effect, its beginnings in this case are more mythical than real. 8. Rejection is a bad way to manage stress. We are typically told to get a grip on reality as a way to manage our issues, but this is only at times true. When a scenario is unchangeable, you are better to use a so-called emotion-focused coping strategy, such as focusing on the positive or pushing the circumstance out of your awareness. If a person has taken a treasured possession of yours and you know there's no chance to get it back, your mood will only worsen if you ponder over the experience. Having said that, if a situation is adjustable, then it would be a bad idea to disregard it. If you know who took your possession, but are scared to confront this person, you could use problem-focused coping. This would include developing a strategy in which you come up with possible strategies, assess them, and after that, put one of them into place. There is no one best way to manage stress, so you are best off if you openly adapt to the circumstance by utilizing denial or other ways to feel better, or taking action. 9. Experiencing a déjà vu means that you are clairvoyant. The phenomenon of a déjà vu refers to a feeling like you've seen something before that you have not. People who experience a déjà vu think that they may have special psychic powers. You could feel that you've seen a situation you are in now at an earlier time, such as in a dream, and that you're, because of that, operating on some type of precognition. However, many people's déjà vu experiences reflect faulty source memory. Maybe you have had this feeling when you have ordered coffee from your regional barista. You're sure this has happened to you in a dream, and now it is going on in real life. Yet the chances are that the situation is just close enough to real experiences you've had many times before that it's just an old memory whose source you can no longer place. 10. Skinner's child was raised in a Skinner box and grew up having severe psychological disruptions. I've saved one of the most mythical of the myths for last. Perhaps you even heard this one in class, though I hope not. The truth is that Skinner built a baby crib for his younger daughter that resembled a box, but it wasn't a box like the ones he used for training pigeons. Instead, it was intended to keep her warm and draft-free. No food pellets were given and no shock provided. Regarding this daughter's future psychological health, she didn't appear to have been damaged by the experience whatsoever, at the very least according to her autobiographical declarations. As you can see, psychology has plenty of amusing and useful surprises. I hope that by debunking these myths, you'll be prepared to use the essential knowledge from our field to promoting the understanding of conduct. This has been Hypnosis: Techniques for Weight Loss, Sleepwalking, and Fertility, written by Devin Hales. Narrated by Dean Collins.